Thank you, Tyler, and thank you, Pepco, for your support of the Red Cross in the National Capital Region. So now I'm pleased to introduce the next speaker, who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Brad Kieserman. He's here to set the stage for the event. I mentioned already he was the closing keynote last year. Such a profound speaker, has so much hands-on experience. You know, I joke about him sitting down and taking personal vacation, but I probably shouldn't, because he is someone who has dedicated his life to the support and the mission of the Red Cross. He's been the Vice President for Disaster Operations and Logistics at the American Red Cross since June of 2015. In this position, he provides support for preparedness activities and oversees domestic disaster operations that includes the U.S. territories and commonwealths. His team are accountable for staffing logistics, operations, and situational awareness for planning, implementing, and managing scalable relief operations. What that means is he's responsible for everything in a disaster. And the direct needs of the clients, the people that are being helped during these disasters. He also served in the United States Coast Guard, an enlisted commission in civilian positions for over 23 years. He was a member of the Federal Senior Executive Service holding and legal operations for leadership positions at Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So during his nearly 30 years of public service, he's participated in numerous crisis operations ranging from the Exxon Valdez oil spill, maritime mass migrations from Haiti and Cuba, international drug interdiction, piracy of the U.S.-flagged vessel Maersk, Alabama, in response to the recovery of Hurricane Sandy. And I am joking when I say this, the only thing he hasn't done is take a personal vacation. So, Brad, please come on up stage, and we're happy to have you here today again.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to provide you with a very innovative way to interact with me. You can talk to me. I'm going to ask some questions. I hope that some of you will respond. It will work much better that way. Otherwise, I'll have to make the answers up. So, and I won't hesitate to do that. You did hear I had a law degree, so I'll make up anything at this stage of the game. So I got just a quick question. Real quick, what's preparedness? What is preparedness? Anybody? Wow, what is it? It's a great answer. Having a plan before anything happens. If you hadn't said anything, I'd say, what are you guys here for, you know? I don't know what preparedness is. I came to find out what preparedness is. Preparedness comes from, as most things do, a Latin word, preparare. Sounds like I'm ordering pasta. I'd like my pasta with preparare, please. Which means make ready beforehand. That's what the word preparedness means. Make ready beforehand. So the question is, make ready for what? What is it that we have to be prepared for? Now, there are 24 jurisdictions, depending on how you count, here in the National Capital Region. I think it's fair to say that each one has to be prepared for something, and probably fair to say that all jurisdictions probably have some things they need to be prepared for, but each jurisdiction has its own high probability, high consequence risk that it needs to be prepared for while preparing for the region's high probability, high consequence risk, in addition to what it is that we do every day. So think for a minute, I just want to think for a minute about the complexity of preparedness in this region. Before we do that, I want to share something with you. I am married to an absolutely wonderful woman, and I have a fantastic boss. They're not the same person. Well, they may think they are, but they're not the same person. And both of them have said to me in the last week, Brad, when you talk to people, you depress them. I'm a very upbeat guy. I'm a very positive guy. I don't depress people. I said, no, you depress people. You talk about, and I talk about climate change. I'm done masking the fact that I work for a nonprofit organization that has to be careful not to alienate any potential donors, any potential clients. Everyone is welcome in the Red Cross. We have a fundamental principle in this organization, in this movement, on neutrality. We don't get in the middle of anybody's dispute, precisely so that we can provide service to everyone at every time. So if there's a dispute about climate change, I'm probably stepping into the middle of it now and violating neutrality. And you know what? I'm 57 years old, and sometimes you just have to speak your conscience. So if I said to you, what is the biggest threat to the national capital region? What is it we have to be prepared for? What would you say? Anybody? Everything? Terrorist attack? Depends on who you're talking to. I'm talking to you. What's the biggest threat to the... See how I turned that around? That was good, right? Yeah. So what do you think it is? Say what? Right, absolutely. They're looking at risk. And so what do you see as the greatest risk to the national capital region? Not having a plan for asset allocation. I'm going to leverage that for 1 second. So I have 2 cardinal rules of preparedness that I apply in any job I have and that I absolutely insist that my staff apply. Is there anybody here from Disaster Cycle Services? Oh, good. I see a few of you. Hey, Tom. What's hope, Tom? What is hope? Monica, if you know, you should tell him. Right, hope is not a plan. I really hope that hurricane doesn't hit. Well, I do too. Hope is not a plan. Rule number 2 of preparedness. Does anybody know? I'm not going to put you on the spot for rule number 2, Tom and Monica, but you'll know it as soon as I say it. Rule number 2, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So you better have another plan. So you got to have more than one plan. By the way, Clausewitz said no strategy survives first contact with the enemy. We've all adapted that. So this notion that you can't hope, you have to do deliberate planning. We need an asset plan. We need plans for the threats that we face. That's a critical part of this. If you ask me what the greatest threat to the national capital region is, I'm going to tell you it's climate change. Now, you may not like my answer, but I'm going to at least give you why I see it as the answer. We live on a river, the Potomac River, which is connected to a 3,000-foot high mountain, which I just recently bought a house on top of because I'm preparing. I worked in FEMA flood insurance. If you think I'm ever going to live by the water ever again, never happening. I live on a mountaintop. I bought a house on a mountaintop in Front Royal, and I'm like not a survivalist or anything, but I did say to my wife, we're going to have a beautiful view of the apocalypse from here. It's going to be awesome. And you know what? I'm going to be surrounded by Pottery Barn things at the end. It's going to be really good. And a cheese board. So I'm just telling you what's on my mind. So why do I share this with you? We live on a river, and we live at the bottom of a mountain, and that river's connected to the top of the mountain, and it's connected to the ocean. There is no question that the planet is getting warmer. I won't go through all the statistics for you. We had the second warmest year on record last year, first warmest year on record a few years before. So there's no question that the planet is getting warmer. Sea level is rising because ice is melting. There's also no question that the planetary climate is experiencing more precipitation. By the way, in the United States, the highest risk for increased precipitation is in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast states. So we are sitting at ground zero for the place where we think there's going to be more rain, and this city and this region have experienced more precipitation in the last several years than ever. So there's real consequences from that kind of change. If the temperature goes up by 2.5 degrees in the next 40 years, and the river rises by even a couple of inches, that's going to change where we live, how we live, and what we do in this region, and we have to have a plan for that. We need to be prepared. This is the part, this is why they say I'm depressing. You guys get that, right? So, but I have a plan. I have a plan not to be depressing. And this is the first time I've ever used this plan. So no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but you're not the enemy, you're my friends, right? You'll help me with this plan. So here's how we're not going to be depressing. We're going to talk about, for just a moment, really just how good we are here in the National Capital Region as emergency managers, as leaders, as citizens. And here's how we're going to do that. How many of you have lived here for more than a decade? Show of hands. Outstanding. More than 2 decades. Also outstanding. So now I'm going to ask a question. I've lived here for 23 years. I came here, I was a Coast Guard patrol boat captain. They sent me to law school. I went to Catholic University, thought I would do 1 year and go back to sea again. My wife had different plans, and I've been here ever since. But when I was getting ready for this, I thought back, what major responses have I been through in the National Capital Region? Not as a first responder, but as a citizen, as a member of the community. So I was wondering if some of you could help me. Since 1997, what major responses can you remember in the National Capital Region? Anybody? 9/11. Anybody else? Derecho. I'll never forget that. That was creepy. Derecho, 9/11. The sniper. That's awesome. I'm coming back to that in a minute. Anthrax. Right. Anything else? Isabel. The election. I need to be clear. I am apolitical. So when I say the election, what I mean is many people, I don't have to count them, gather in the city. We have many events that we host here. This is a center of gravity for the world. And so that really is something that we have to deal with every single day, is the influx of people who want to exercise their rights of free speech, who want to come and celebrate things. There's millions of tourists that move through this region every day. Any other disasters since 1997? Earthquake? Right, that was crazy. I was coming out of L'Enfant Station. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting dizzy. What's wrong with me? So was everybody else. What's the other thing? The coronavirus. My friend Rich Serino, who's going to close here, I think is going to talk a little bit more about it, so I'm not going to pull any of the sting. But I have to tell you, when I'm done here today, I'll probably spend the next part of my day on coronavirus response. Coronavirus is definitely the next big thing. What it's going to do, how it's going to do it, a lot of questions about that. But of course, all the things you mentioned, anthrax, the sniper, 9/11, H1N1, corona, all of those things have 3 things in common. First of all, every single one of them in some way threatens something of core value to us. In the case of corona value, it's our health and the health of our families. In the case of anthrax, it's health. There's a theme here, by the way. H1N1, health. Derecho, safety. Isabel, safety, the safety of our life, the safety of our property. All of these things represent a core value that's threatened. The other 2 characteristics that they have in common, the first one is urgency. All of the things you mentioned, the anthrax attack, the 9/11, the sniper, all of those things created a sense of urgency in the community. And that urgency, coupled with threat, are the first 2 ingredients of what we ultimately have to prepare for in the National Capital Region. But there's one more, and it's very important. So it's urgency, threat, and uncertainty. The snipers. I remember I had 2 little boys, my wife, and we lived in an area where the sniper was, of course, it was the whole region, where the sniper was stalking people. And we didn't know if we were going to get out of the car and get gas, if someone was going to take a shot at us or our children or our neighbors. So we had this threat of a sniper. We had a true sense of urgency because it was happening more and more often. And we had this horrible sense of uncertainty because we didn't know when it was going to happen next or when it was going to end. I want you to think for a minute about the people in Puerto Rico right now. They're not on the front page of the Washington Post or the New York Times, but they've been experiencing multiple earthquakes since the 28th of December, including a 6.4 magnitude that did quite a bit of damage to a number of the southern municipalities. And it's been shaking ever since, including a 5.0 on Sunday. People won't go back in their homes, not because their homes are damaged. Their homes are fine in many cases. They won't go back because they're afraid, because they're uncertain. They don't know when the earth's going to shake again and when that shake is going to make their house fall on their head or a tsunami come. It's fear. How do you prepare for fear? How do you prepare to help people have confidence? Well, I'll tell you the answer to that. You respond effectively over and over for more than 2 decades. And you do it in a place where there's, and I made some notes. I rarely do this. There's so many numbers. It's so impressive. By the way, this is my effort at not leaving you feeling depressed. Because one thing I've learned, people will remember how you make them feel. They don't remember what you say. So when I leave here in a few minutes, what I would like to do is I hope I make you feel, one, like we as a community and as professionals have done a pretty darn good job preparing this region for whatever comes next. And we should celebrate that, and we should not be self-critical about it, and we should recognize the work that we've done. Because as my friend Jim Schwartz in Arlington says, this should be the hardest place on earth to coordinate a response. And in fact, it's not. It's one of the best places on earth to coordinate a response because of the relationships that all of the responders have built with each other across 24 jurisdictions. So you want to talk about a threat to something that's a core value, to what's at stake? There's over 5.5 million residents in the National Capital Region. Some of them work in Maryland, live in D.C., some work in Virginia, they live in Maryland, many different combinations. There's also tens of thousands more who come in here every day from West Virginia and Pennsylvania, and they commute to work every day. So 5.5 million residents, million more that come in back and forth from even outside the jurisdictions. All 3 branches of the federal government have their center of gravity and headquarters located here. I got to tell you, if I was a continuity of government guy and I was designing that, I wouldn't put them all in the same place, right? I just, just a security thing, right? We wouldn't do that. But that's where they are. So all 3 centers of government are here, the judicial branch, the executive, and the legislative branch. And to support them, there's over 271 federal departments and agencies with 340,000 employees. So when we talk about what's threatening the National Capital Region, it's not just threatening Podunk. Nope, it's threatening the center of gravity for what is still the greatest power on earth. And I realize that in the news it seems that that's being threatened and undermined. This is still the greatest democracy in the world. And we're watching that play out before us. And so if anything happens in this place, it doesn't just affect this place. The ripples in the pond go everywhere. And I think that when we look at who else is here, there's over 2,000 political, social, and environmental NGOs within about a mile of where we're sitting right now. 20 million tourists a year, 40 colleges and universities, 170 embassies, and about 5,500 square miles. And if you think back to Anthrax, to the Sniper, to Isabel, the derecho, even Snowmageddon, right? Was that? It was in, right, I remember that. If you think back to those disasters, we actually responded pretty well. There were uncertainties, there were things that our plans didn't account for, but one of the things that our plans accounted for really well is communicating with each other, interoperability, setting politics aside to make sure that we can take care of people. So I think that while we face really considerable threats going forward, which should motivate us to make ready beforehand, to prepare, I think the foundation that's been laid in the National Capital Region is the gold standard. I really do. And I'd like you to join me in a round of applause for all of the first responders, elected officials, unelected executives, and community members who have made this the strong, resilient community that it is today. That's you. Note for camera, Audience not depressed. High five! All right, let me wrap up with this for you. You are all leaders in the National Capital Region in helping to prepare this region for what comes next. My last question, what is leadership? I'll just stand here. My leadership is watching you think about my question. What is leadership? Anybody, take a guess. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I can't see.
My name is Kathy. I use pronouns she, her, and hers.
Okay.
For me, leadership is that person in a position to support others fulfilling their potential.
That person in a position to support others to fulfill their potential. Yes, Kathy, did I get that right? Okay, that's a great definition of leadership. Rich Serino, your closing speaker, and I both teach a course in Harvard. It's from the National Preparedness Leadership Institute. It's called Meta Leadership. In Meta Leadership, we've distilled down the concept Kathy just said to 3 words. And I want to leave you with those 3 words. Being a leader, people follow you. That's what a leader is. People follow you. You are all leaders. You are all leaders. We are all leaders in preparing our region and our country for the next hazard that we face. And as leaders, please remember, 1, hope is not a plan. 2, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Have another plan. And 3, those people who follow you, they'll remember how you make them feel, not what you said. So make them feel like we're ready and they want to be part of making us even more ready. Thank you all very much. Look forward to the panels today, and let's be prepared.